In life, we are asked many questions. Some are pretty black and white, but some are also a bit more. Some just beg the question, how far would you go? These are the questions that are asked in this month's Bento box, which theme is the gray area. I am your host, the Dynamite Crip, and your first book up is The Superior Iron Man. Tony Stark, inventor, superhero, philanthropist, and entrepreneur, has made a new invention that he has dubbed Extremist 3.0. And with this new invention, it is an app which can make a person at the molecular level into a beauty. Except, at first, Tony Stark gives out a taste. And it is a free trial of this app. But yet he gets people so addicted that people start to make very strange and horrible choices. Sometimes even uh, things that they wouldn't normally think they would do. And in it all, he himself starts viewing himself as bigger than life. Unfortunately, I can't tell you what happens in the end because it doesn't end. It leaves with a cliffhanger of a to be continued. Uh, he does wind up in a few fights with some people trying to convince him that this new invention of him is turning people into rotten human beings and it just needs to be stopped. And anyway, it was, if you like Iron Man, it's a good book. It kind of brings out a lot of his inner demons, I think. And they kind of come to the surface and you're kind of left with that Tony Stark. Because as I said, it ends with it to be continued. Next up, we travel to a dystopian future. Uh, this is Lola. At 5 years old, she was on a trip to go see her grandmother when all of a sudden she got mixed up in the crowd and the news bulletin all of a sudden came on the scene saying that there was a terrorist attack. But then she meets a friend uh, who takes her in and becomes like a father figure to her. uh, who also tries to help her reconnect with her parents. Uh, it is a good book. It is another one that sort of ended on um, ended on a not a to be continued, but kind of makes you wonder what's going to happen next type ending. It was brought to us by Aspen Comics, and that's it. Now, from Valiant, we are brought to New Japan, where the first murder in about 1,000 years has happened. And it is up to the main character, Ray, as the name suggests, to track down who it is that killed this person, or who this woman is that got killed. So, this was probably my favorite out of the books, because it really had a solid story. Um, the it's kind of funny because the gray area doesn't really kick in until the last couple pages. Um, because through most of it, he's just doing as directed by this force called the Father. Then, in the end of the story, he finds out that the woman that was murdered uh, was actually his mother, his human mother. He was born of a human mother and electronics. Um, then, throughout, when he finally finds all that out, he then has to make up a decision on if this father of his is really a good guy. It's a I can't really say whether this was a dystopian or a utopian future, because it does have a sense of peace, but there, even in my opinion, the peace is just wrong somehow. But still, a very good book brought to us by Valiant, uh, and it's a pickup. If you see Ray in the comics shops, I'd pick this book up. Last, and in my opinion, least, The Troublemakers, brought to us by Dark Horse Books. Uh, this book is a very to the point kind of book. I think it was supposed to be a humorous take on stuff. I don't really know, but it just seemed a little lighter than the other books. Though there are a lot of well, the story basically follows a woman named Barney who uh, whose name is like Alexis Barnaby or something like that. And she finds out through a friend of hers that another one of her friends has been kidnapped. And with the help of her boyfriend, Hooker, yes, that's his name, Alex Hooker, they go on an adventure together to the swamps of, I believe, New Orleans. And they find out that the woman they were looking for, her name is Rosa, by the way, has been kidnapped. And throughout it all, she doesn't even look like she's been kidnapped. They see her with the coat, and yes, you heard me right. She was with the coat, and she's just kind of eating a bucket of chicken and hanging out. It does have a lot of fast-paced action. It is pretty good, but it's still. It seemed almost like, I would say it seemed like what most people would think of like the later horror sequels, or like, kind of campy in a way. Anyway, this has been well, this has been my look at this month's Bento box. I am your host, the Dynamite Crip. I hope you've enjoyed my video. Uh, Please stay tuned as I will have more videos in the future. Thank you and goodbye.